Perhaps the most rewarding part of traveling for food is the growing discovery that more and more I don't actually have to. Not when so much food is traveling to me. Yes, we've seen so many culinary movements gather speed from Italian to Chinese to Thai, Japanese, Middle Eastern. And now I'm beginning to wonder if in fact we are poised to accept a new one. I'm not entirely convinced that this will be the same rage its predecessors were. But I will say that it is currently my contention that, in the words of Shakira, it might just be the time for Africa.
Yes, you wouldn't think it, but in some corners of the country there is a culinary trend that's starting, to be fair, at a slow simmer. But considering that not too long ago there was little to nothing available from an entire continent worth of cuisine, even a little movement is worth taking note of. So yes, flavors from across Africa are starting to pop up across the city, and I for one was excited to get my hands in. My first port of call then sits in South Mumbai. It's called the Green Onion, and it serves a comprehensive assortment of authentic Nigerian fare.
Hi, welcome to the Green Onion.
And as I took my seat, the first question I had to ask was, why Nigeria? Of all the culinary offerings in Africa, anyone who's been there would admit it's not an immediate first choice.
It all started with Hotel Sapna Marine. Gradually we saw a steady influx of guests coming from Africa. It all started with a group of ladies who were here. They told me they were missing African food, basically Nigerian food. Gradually I picked up some tips from them, their food habits.
As the dishes pile up, it's clear she's learnt well. My first course then is the okra ogbono served with shrimp. The gravy is thick and will take a bit of getting used to since dried fish is the dominant flavour. What helps is mopping it up with some of their fufu, a rice cake that you unwrap, roll and then dunk.
It is tuwo shinkafa. It is made up of overcooked rice, pounded very nicely, converted into rice balls.
So when I took my first bite of this okra ogbono, I have to admit that my first reaction was one of mild horror. I did not expect something quite this strong, the sort of taste of fermented fish. You know, it takes a little getting used to, but here's the thing, the more I have of it, the milder that becomes and the more the other flavors come out. It's very interesting and topped with juicy, perfectly done prawns. You know, my life's feeling pretty good right about now.
And arguably getting better. Next up, another Nigerian staple, the egusi. It is again an ode to the gentle notes of dried fish and shrimp, but this one is different. There is a sort of nuttier undertone that works very well once you get used to it.
Egusi is basically melon seed. Melon seed which is grounded, and again dry fish combination that is converted into soup options. It is boiled a lot, and the option of chicken, fish and prawns is always there.
This wonderful cassava fufu, which is sort of nutty, almost, dare I say, suji-esque in its consistency.
Then the table starts to fill up and it seems like it just won't stop. There's the moi moi, a slightly grainy square made of black-eyed peas, their pepe and more of the dried stuff. It's unusual, but I was more excited to move on to these, their snacks. The puff puffs, spongy fried balls almost exactly like the East Indian favourite fugiyas. And then the akaras, fritters made of more black-eyed peas, and this too is the taste I know well.
All I can tell you is they're yummy and they're just like our bhajiyas. Finally, a point in common.
The options they offer up are exhausted. This is a place that's done its homework. Up next, for example, is a broth of goat head. Very strong but still surprisingly hearty. The next thing you have to try is their jollof rice, here served with fried chicken, a dish that works just about anywhere. Jollof rice is great, a tomato and chili base, pepe as they call it. It's packed with flavor, laden with fried dodo or plantain, and you understand then why this is also known as the party plate.
For jollof rice, that is considered their party dish, usually in big gatherings and family dining together. This is one of their favorite dishes.
I then finish off appropriately enough with their fish stew, tomato based and hearty, and one that I get to find wonderfully familiar.
So one of the reasons I was particularly excited to do this episode is because I actually grew up in Nigeria. However, I must admit that between the ages of 3 and 9, I was not quite the adventurous eater that I am today. But if there is one taste that I remember from there, it is this. It is so familiar, so rich, hearty, nutty, so fantastic, and to have it here in my own backyard is just my big bonus for the day.
Well, that was bracing and exciting and well fed. It's time to head out. Happily, with the magic of TV, I am able to instantly transport myself to another city. You see, happily all the action is not happening in Mumbai alone. We have shifted base and are now in the capital, where in the heart of Lutyens, Delhi, sits the Ethiopian Cultural Centre, inside which has emerged an exciting new addition to the scene there. The space itself is charming. An elephant looks on wisely to a wide open courtyard. I head into the first door, which leads me to a cozy little corner. The vibe may be tiki bar, but if the scents wafting out from this setup are anything to go by, what's on offer will actually be more potent than anything a tiki bar could serve. They offer a demonstration in the art of making a good cup of Ethiopian coffee. And the first thing they do is roast, and roast very well.
Wooden pot, just this type.
All right.
Coffee pot, heavy steel, this.
Oh, nice.
After grind, this cold water with boiler, this pot, boiler, little time, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, boiler, ready.
While my kappa is busy brewing in its jabena, a surprise comes out.
This is
Coffee breakfast.
coffee breakfast.
Sometimes bread,
Yeah.
sometimes popcorn, sometimes barley and peanut roast.
I know that this is a breakfast that is born out of necessity, out of a land that hasn't always had plenty. But I have to say, a day that starts with salted buttered popcorn is a day that's off to a very, very good start.
And there, finally, it's ready. 1 cup, please, of coffee strong enough to put Hercules to shame.
Oh my God.
Little
Wow.
strong, good coffee. 1 cup, coffee drink. Refresh.
Refresh indeed.
Yeah.
Refreshing, yes. Too many cups of this and I will probably be bouncing off the walls, possibly launching myself into the stratosphere. That said, while it's strong, it's also rich, it's robust, that gorgeous roasty flavor to it. Cheers, this is wonderful coffee. Thank you.
Well, I'm wide awake and need to work off the coffee high. Next door is just the place. It leads me to their restaurant, where they will be introducing us to an exhaustive array of the exhaustive array that makes up Ethiopian eats.
Ethiopia has a very long history, and as well in Ethiopia there are like 81 nations and nationalities in general. So when we talk of Ethiopian food, we are talking about the food of these nations and nationalities. So it is varied in kind.
I am intrigued, especially when the first plate comes out. This is a vegetarian sampler, so to speak, served almost thali style on top of some injera. What is injera, you ask? Well, it is to Ethiopia what the dosa is to the south, what the chapati is to our many homes.
Injera is made from a tiny grain which is called teff. It is very much peculiar to Ethiopia.
Yeah.
It is sorrow,
Yeah.
and it is tasty as well.
It's great, but what is served on top of it? That, folks, is even better. I start then with something called shiro wet. It's a paste made of chickpea and chili, and while it sounds simple, let me assure you it's anything but.
Okay. First bite's a winner. This shiro wet, a sort of paste of chickpea, chana and chili is, wow, literally my new favorite thing. It's so good.
Here also is where some of the other similarities emerge. It's sabzi time. There's the gomena preparation of Ethiopian spinach. There's kolosia bakarot, green beans and carrot. There's the tikil gomen alicha, cabbage with potatoes and turmeric. They're all tasty, all familiar too. But for one minor quibble.
And you know, I've said that they use, there's a lot of similarity of ingredient, of spice, of thing. The one thing they do is they use considerably less salt than we do. So that's the only thing that takes a little bit of adjusting to, but then again, that's what a salt cellar's for.
We then move on to their dals. Yes, they do dal too. The misir cake, red lentils with a special spice blend, and black lentils too, both distinct despite using a similar base, and both utterly delicious.
These are sort of red lentils which they cook with special spices. It's called misir cake, and I have to say, it's some of the tastiest dal I've had, and this from someone who lives in the land of lentils.
The meats that follow speak to a tradition of living off the land. There's a gaminess, a certain pungency to the meat that, well, let's just say the not strictly carnivorous may find a little too strong. Like, say, in the minch tabish alicha. It's a light dish made of minced mutton flavored with garlic, ginger, onion and turmeric. Feels familiar? It should. But like I said here, as with the beg wet, another mutton preparation where chili and garlic take center stage, the emphasis remains firmly on the meat itself.
Every ingredient they've used is actually ingredients they would use right here, except it tastes at the same time slightly familiar and yet entirely, utterly new.
Then finish off with the beg tibs, mutton slices fried with onions, pepper and best when doused with a special spice mix. And yes, for those of you wondering, here's how you begin to decode the menu.
We call it tibs when you fried it with some spices,
Right.
and some onions and something like that.
So dry.
Yeah, it's dry. When you prepare it in the form of sauce, we call it like alicha, lechaot or something like that. When we prepare it with red pepper, we call it kaiwat. We have different forms anyways.
It's potent, it packs a punch, and best of all, it's such a welcome change of pace. I must admit that as I sit back and enjoy the rest, if this is what I have to look forward to, booking a ticket to Addis Ababa might take up much of this break.